Good afternoon, or it is a warm, bright and sunny day. It is Tuesday the 5th of September. I've got a nice hot cup of tea and a parcel to unbox. So let's get this open. And what I've got in here, I'll just pull it out, is a copy of Legend of the Five Rings. This is published by, I find it the Edge. This is now published by Edge Studio via, so essentially by Fantasy Flight Games via Edge Studio. This is the core rulebook. Honor is stronger than steel. In the land of Rokugan, the Emerald Empire has lasted for 1,000 years under the guidance of the noble Hantai emperors. The great clans of the samurai have protected the lands from threats from within and without since the time of the Kami came down from the heavens and established Rokugan as the most favoured of kingdoms. But after centuries of prosperity, cracks appear at the empire's foundations. The spirits of the land have become restless and wild. Armies of evil horrors march from the Shadowlands. Members of the great clans have begun to wonder if the time of the Hantai is over and whether the heavens would favour new rulers. As a samurai of the Emerald Empire, your duty lies in service to your lord, your clan and your emperor. Will you stay true to your duty no matter what sacrifices it demands of you? Will you hold true to your own code of honour, even to the point of death? In the rulebook, you will find everything you need to forge your own legend, including rules for creating samurai characters with rich and detailed histories, personalities, strengths and flaws, an innovative dice system mechanic that brings your players' emotional turmoil to life, a game where reputation, conviction and loyalty matter far more than the strength of your sword. So, Legend of the Five Rings has quite a pedigree going back to the late 90s when the original role-playing game was written by John Wick and published by AEG. It's been published by AEG since, before being sold to Fantasy Flight Games and then being taken up by Edge Studio more recently for this, the 5th edition of the game. And that includes a version of the game statted also for the D20 system during the noughties. That went out with the essentially with the 3rd and 4th edition. Now, Rokugan is an analogue to a mixture of medieval Japan, but influenced by Korean and Chinese culture as well, and really is, apart from Bushido, I think, is the preeminent samurai role-playing game over the history of role-playing games. Even that's even beyond if you consider something like Oriole Adventures for Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. So let's have a look. Now, I have played quite a lot of Legend of the Five Rings for about 10 years or so prior to the pandemic, and I really enjoyed it. It's a great game. You've got lots of interesting character options, and the clans are all very different, and colour your outlook and your duties throughout. You always play samurai, the primary character types of Bushi, warriors, then you've got Shugenja, who are the spell casters, and then you've got the courtiers. So we have an explanation of where the Five Rings are, government, and how it's organised. It's a feudal society, crime and punishment in the lands, commerce, and how commerce is in currency. Commerce and currency is definitively looked down upon by society at large. It has to happen, and you can be incredibly rich, but your status is low in the pecking order. Peasants, even almost peasants, come before you. So with those who serve, those who work, those who do not belong, it really breaks down the social structure. Explains the nature of the land, and then we have explanation of who the great clans are, and these are all different in colour and flavour. So, for example, the crab clan is warriors tasked with maintaining the wall which separates Rokugan from the Shadowlands. The crane are courtiers. The lion is the army of the emperor, and so on. You also have listed the minor clans as well. They're not quite as detailed in the core book, at least. And you've got a map of Rokugan there to show you that in more detail. And then we've got essentially look at how to play the game and how to use the dice. Now this uses the Genesis system. Really first seen with the Star Wars role-playing games published by Fantasy Flight Games, now also published by Edge Studios, with multiple different types of dice. This doesn't use quite so many, just uses a couple, and you are rolling them for various different effects because the dice will give you different outcomes according to the symbols rolled. It is no question of, in the classic version of Legend of the Five Rings, it was a roll and keep system. So you might have the notation would be 5 keep 3. So you're rolling 10-sided dice, and you are keeping the three best scores that you have, and 10s can be re-rolled and their totals added. But you might, for example, want to roll and choose the lowest because you might not want to achieve essentially the task be set for you. You know, it might be a point of honor to fail it, or you might not want to hit someone with that enough damage. So we've got an explanation of the rules here, and you need to use sort of like proprietary dice for the system, but you can find an app for that. So there's a discussion of essentially of how to roll the dice, how to interpret the results. So, for example, one of the you can, as a result of the task, you can roll to succeed, but you can also create opportunities, extra bonuses that give you an advantage in a situation. But you also generate strife, which you have to deal with, up to the point where you can be compromised and unmasked, your true character shown, and you suffer a loss of honor and face. So then we get into the details of the character and the rings: earth, fire, air, water, and void, and what they mean and how they come into play, and your honor and glory status. How to create a character, and this includes the game of 20 questions, where you literally go to basically ask about the background to your character, who they are, childhood experiences, what their outlook on particular things is, and it's and how it influences you. So we start off with choice of Crab Clan and go one by one through the clans, and at each stage it is adding bonuses to your rings and also to your skills. So for example, the Dragon Clan adds one to the root of fire ring and increases the meditation skill by 1. So on, and then basically it's these different stages. This is the 20 questions are built into the creation process, and then it's talking. Then you choose a family. So if we have a look at the crab family, sorry, we're just trying to pop on the separate pages. So here are the crab families within the clan, and you've got 5 of them. So the Hida family are the big burly warriors, the Bushi. The Haruma are scouts. The Kaiju are the engineers who maintain the walls and the siege engines. The Kuni family are the Shugenja, and they're dealing with the taint of the shadow and attacking its creatures. And the Yusuki are their courtier, who are merchants, and although they are samurai status, they're looked down upon by the rest of the clans. So, if not, though not the crabs. So you've got all those options, so you're choosing that as the part of the character process. And then you're looking at your role and school. So, as well as your clan and family, you have a school. This is what you are trained in, and this will give you details of the base skills you get and the advances you will take in order to increase your skill and position and rank in the school. And it's doing this for all of the different schools. You've got multiple different schools. So typically, you know, you will have a Bushi school for a clan, a Shugenja school, a courtier a school. There will be others because each clan has its own areas of specialization and secret knowledge that only it practices. And you can also you know, so some further questions. So, what is your character longing for? How might they impede? How might that impede their duty? What is your character's relationship with their clan? What does your character think of Bushido, and so on? And then we're talking about strengths and weaknesses. These are, you know, advantages and disadvantages, and your personality, behaviour, ancestry, and family. And by the end of it, answering all those questions, filling in all those details, and making those choices, you will have your character ready to play. And then you've got a heritage section for your samurai as well. So here we have the list of advantages and disadvantages, and a guide to use those in play. So you might have indomitable will, which is tied to your earth, or keen sight, tied to water. Seasoned, which is essentially, you know, you are older and more experienced. Or subtle observer, sixth sense. You have an interesting range of advantages and disadvantages. You also got passions, which, you know, you can sort of like drive and so on. So you've got lots of different things like maimed visage or lost leg for your disadvantages. And these will provide benefits and penalties throughout the game. Section on skills. And this divides the skills into, you've got artisan skill groups, you know, like composition or smithing. Some of these are acceptable, some are not. Social skill groups, reason, charm, command, all in there. Scholars, you have you also have different approaches to doing things. So you might go recall, survey, theorize, analyze for your scholar skills. So you've got multiple ways of approaching them. And then your skills, scholar skills, sort of might be culture or medicine, sentiment, so on, theology. Martial skill group, it's a big skill group for your Bushi. So your approaches for your martial skills might be with standard approach, overwhelm approach, feint approach, shift approach, sacrifice, you know. So they're essentially like stances in combat. And then the martial skills include, you know, ranged, martial arts, meditation, tactics. You've also got a trade skill. That's not necessarily seen as an honourable, but there are characters who will have that, and included in that will be seafaring, skullduggery, survival. And then we have discussion of techniques. Now, techniques are like your katas and essentially the advanced training that your schools give you. So it might well be kata. It's a general kata. It might be crashing wave style. When you make a martial arts melee, ranged or unarmed combat, you spend opportunity. One target of your action must resist a fitness check or suffer bleeding condition, and so on. Lots of different ways you can interact and actually really kind of influence a combat. Again, you've got this great artwork, and I mean the thing is that certainly once we get sort of like into the colour books of the second edition for Legend of the Five Rings, and definitely third and fourth edition, you have some excellent full colour artwork, like this dragon monk breathing fire. And a lot of this is also drawn Some of it's drawn from sort of like the card game Legend of the Five Rings, which preceded the role-playing game back in the day. And then we have invocations, which are techniques used by Shigenja. So you've got that they're tied to particular elements and rings. So air invocations, might be Cloak of Night or Grasp of the Air Dragon. Grasp of the Air Dragon extends a long breath at the end of the incantation, extends the hands as stillness descends. The moment the storm breaks, the clouds high twist above and trail from the heavens like from the heaven like festival streamers. The wind sweeps towards the target and hurls them into the air, carrying them to safety or to their doom, depending upon the will of the Shigenja. So if you succeed, you summon a gale force wind to move the target a number of rage bands equal to your air ring. You may choose to set the target down gently if you choose a support action, or slam them into it with full force if you choose an attack action. So a lot of the invocations are flexible like that. And then we have Suji, which are social techniques. So you've got techniques for the different types of characters: the Shigenja, the Bushi, and the courtiers as well. So you have literally special abilities that you do, when you're at court or you're involving in social interaction. And then also, this is a lovely touch. It's certainly for the core rulebook, for the layout style. You have ninjutsu techniques, because of course you do. This is a role-playing game based upon medieval Japan, so therefore you have certainly cinematic feel to it, and inspired by the Chambara genre of films and stories. You have the ninja, and the ninja are on a pale on a dark night background, because some of the clans do practice the equivalent of ninjutsu. They'll deny it because being a ninja or having their skills is dishonorable. So we move on to samurai and money, noting that money is really, they don't have their own money, they do have clan money, and they are fully equipped by their clan, so they shouldn't actually be spending a lot of money. This isn't a setting where you go shopping big for the hell of it. You go shopping for a purpose. And yes, we have roleplay going shopping in the game, but it's for a point. So we've got all the weapons listed in there, how much damage they do, and what they like. Similar for ranged weapons, and then armor. And we're talking about, you've got item qualities which can be brought into play. Personal effects, because everyone's you have sort of personal effects, which could be clothing, small items, divination kit, Dyson cup for a game, details like a sake cup, or even poison, which you definitely shouldn't have. And then here we have the actual all this put into practice with the scenes and conflicts. So how to handle conflict scenes, downtime scenes, and then it breaks down the conflict. And what you can do, and basically particular types of conflict. You've got intrigues, and then duels, and skirmishes. So duels, your one-on-one combat, and skirmishes are mini battles. And discussions sort of like the conditions you might suffer, like burning, compromised, intoxicated, and wounded. And that one, and then up another step from skirmishes to mass battles. And generally what will happen, typically a mass battle you will be involved in the mass battle, but you will only see part of it. You're not in command. You might have opportunities to be heroic, strike at a commander, or capture his banner or something like that. We've got a section for the game master. Role of the GM. So we've got advice in here, on evoking the legend of the rings, 5 ring setting, handling things like spirits, so role-playing the spirits, because they're always, near to the world of Rokugan. They're never far away. They're literally, they're part of it. Offering choices and determining consequences, because it's always about the choices you make and the consequences of what you select. Using lords and duty, because one of the things that always is a case of there's always a conflict between your duty and your honour and what your lord wants. So even having multiple conflicting duties. General advice on running the game. We have, how to use social attributes, bring those into play. The social battlefield can be as deadly as the physical battlefield, but of course, it's a case of not actually doing it's doing mental sort of like social damage rather than physical damage. So involving glory and status in play. And then we've got options for alternative campaign styles, Rise from the Dust, Fell to the Fate of the Realm. And Rokugan is a setting which it can involve a lot of different kind of campaign styles. We tried several over the years that we played, whether that was sort of like being stationed at an outpost, a border post for multiple sessions. That was quite a lot of fun because the adventures will always come to you. You can do investigative games where you are essentially basically an appointed investigator, like a justice of the peace, justicar, that sort of thing. Essentially, we've got rules on NPCs and how to create them using templates, and we've got some sample NPCs as well. We even did a campaign where we had been disowned. We were of low status, having been either kicked out of our clan or not actually having clan status, and were banished to a port of a minor village of ill repute, and got involved in criminal shenanigans, and that enabled us to play down and dirty, shifty characters. As well. So there's a lot of flexibility in the setting, but it's sort of like one of those where you kind of do need to know the setting, do need to know the world a bit to create those kind of setups. And here we have tables of examples of the opportunities you can create during plays. So general examples of opportunity, then conflict and martial skills, initiative checks, other skill examples, downtime checks, and so on. Then we've got a glossary at the end. Basically, the section of it for bibliography and inspirational further reading and watching, and then the index. So yeah, that is Legend of the Five Rings, published by Edge Studio for Fantasy Flight Games. So anyway, if you've enjoyed this unboxing in the Nook, then please do click on the like button down below. And of course, if you've got any comments or feedback, I do appreciate you taking the time to post those. And lastly, if you want to be alerted to more unboxing in the Nook, where you'll see me out here with a package containing a book or game which I will unbox and chat about to the best extent of my knowledge for roughly 10 minutes or so, all of course accompanied by a nice little cup of tea, then please do click on the subscribe button down below. Thanks for watching another unboxing of the Nook, and we'll be back again soon with another one. Bye for now.